You're listening to episode 259 of the Super League Pod. It's a Gareth Carvel heavy episode this week, and he isn't even one of our two special guests. We're talking about those big, frustrated halfbacks this week, as it's prop forwards that get the SLP fan treatment. From bad losers to hard men, we've got it covered. If only I can remember who coached or wrote about them. You'll need more than a seatbelt to stay safe this week, but get strapped in regardless, because it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 259 of the Super League Pod. This week you've got myself, Mark, and regular co-host Alan is along with us for the ride as well. And in the rival camp to Alan's Bradford fan, we've got Leeds Rhinos fan John Hamilton joining us as well for a debut appearance on the Super League Pod. So it's great to have you along, John. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Nice to be here. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so what we'll do is Alan will tell us about who the sponsor of the show of this episode is, Alan, and then we'll find out a little bit more about you, John, if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, just before I introduce our sponsor, it's always good to have balance on any show, isn't it? So the yin and the yang. The right fan and the wrong fan. Anyway, so this episode is sponsored by...
a fan of a Super League club on the Super League Pod and a fan of a championship.
yeah, just covering all bases. So this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. Find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can get 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers by putting SLP discount at checkout.
Yeah, please do help keep Rob's Toy Shop very busy at this time during lockdown. I understand that Rob's Toy Shop have been particularly busy, but they're still getting new stock in, and they're still providing stuff for you to, I guess, things for you to play with your kids at home, dog toys, that sort of stuff can be found there as well. But loads of little knickknacks and hobbies to get along with whilst people are in lockdown, and also having to kind of educate the children at home. Rob's Toy Shop will have some stuff there that I'm sure can be helped there. Okay, so John, yeah, we teased it just before, but we wanted to make sure Rob's Toy Shop got their prominent shout out for the support of the show. But now it's a chance for you to have the floor. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your rugby league fandom, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I played union a lot at school. I'm from not too far out of the heartlands, I guess, but it just never was really available. And then I think around when union sort of went openly professional and a lot of league players came back, and really sort of piqued my interest in it because I was so impressed with how big and fast and strong. I remember, likes of Scott Gibbs and Twigamala and stuff like that coming back over and thinking, Christ, what are these guys doing as outside backs, and they're 6 foot tall and 16 stone and running fast against the likes of amateur rugby union wingers. I played a lot of union, and then just literally a teammate on my school union side said, do you fancy coming in and playing and having a training session with a local league team? And went and did that, and absolutely loved it. Loved not mauling for hours and line outs, and loved how much you could get your hands on the ball, and how it was open age versus the schoolboy stuff. That was a lot more physical, a lot harder. But yeah, never looked back really. Do
you want to give a shout out to that community club that you played at back in the day then?
Oh, it was, I don't think it's around anymore. It was Harrogate RLFC, probably 1997, 98 maybe. But yeah, I just had a good time. I really enjoyed playing. I mean, I wasn't very good, but I did enjoy playing, and I like to think I tried hard.
And of course, then you became a fan of the...
the Leeds Rhinos, literally because I went to watch Bradford versus Leeds with my mate, and he was a Bulls fan. So that's why, really, which, not any kind of deep, meaningful answer to it. I'm sorry, Alan, it was just because it was...
Hang on a minute. So you got took along to a game by an enlightened Bradford fan?
Yeah.
And you stabbed him in the back? The team. I mean, that seems a bit.
Hold on, Alan. Isn't your Bradford fan origin story that you went to a Bradford Leeds game with your dad and it was whoever won that day you would support?
No. It was my origin story is basically it just so happened because of where we lived kind of halfway between the two, and it just so happened that Bradford were at home that weekend. Mm-hmm. If Leeds had been at home, we'd have gone to Leeds because my dad supported Leeds in the 70s. So yeah, I mean, I'm just providing a bit of colour. That's all.
So you became a Leeds fan at the end of the 90s. Then, as Leeds maybe were starting to refine some sort of glory days from years gone by that they'd missed out on for a long period of time. But you kind of jumped in right at a good time, didn't you, I guess, because you couldn't be called a glory supporter for all the decade of glory that came from the mid-noughts to the mid-teens, but you
Yeah. Well, the next stage really is that I kind of lost touch with it because I moved away and lived down south for years around London and the southwest, and then kind of really found it hard to get kind of back into it until that semi-final in 2013 really was what really kind of pulled me back in, as I'm sure a lot of other people can relate to. So then it was kind of like 2015 when I really got into it again, which you can throw the glory supporter for me happy for that season, I guess.
Yeah, well, and
then what a roller coaster it's been since then.
Yeah, and you've moved back up north, so I guess you get to go to some games nowadays, which is also helps build the fandom, doesn't it?
Yeah. Try to go heavily as much as I can, and then I've got a regular thing. We go to the Challenge Cup final every year with a couple of mates from London as well, so we do that every year as well, which is a good laugh.
Good stuff. Well, I'm sure you'll have like a range of views to add in as well, and it's always good to get someone with kind of a different way into the sport. Like you say, from your union background and stuff like that, and then converted to the sport. So that's fantastic. Right, so we'll get your views as we go along, but we're going to start with some shout-outs. I want to shout out basically to everyone who donated to my fundraising challenge that I did this weekend. I did it to raise money for Rugby League Cares. That everyone will have seen and probably been berated by everyone to donate money, so I appreciate everyone's only got so much money that they can give and things like that, but the 2.6 challenge was sort of set up on behalf of all British charities, I guess, because the London Marathon was supposed to be this weekend, which is probably the landmark fundraising event for most major charities in the country, and obviously we're going to expect a lot more charity events over the summer months where people would normally be raising money for their chosen charities to fall by the wayside. So these charities have set up this 2.6 challenge, and I kind of stupidly, after I'd had a few beers one night last week, thought, I'll do one of them, not realising it had to be this Sunday. But anyway, I jumped on board and set up my fundraising page. It's on Just Giving if anyone wants to donate still. And I ran 26 laps of the park behind my house, which is the distance is about between 350 and 400 metres a lap, because I ended up just short of 10k from my 26 laps, so it's about 350ish a lap that I did, and I changed into a different rugby league shirt each time, so anyone that was walking the dogs in the field or any of my neighbours or anything like that would have thought, what the hell's going on here? I did explain it to a few people that stopped to chat and ask, so that was nice. So yeah, I managed to do it. It took me just over an hour, but when I looked at the app that I'd the Strava app afterwards, it turns out that the running part took me about 50 minutes and the getting changed part took me about 15-16 minutes. So there you go.
I was going to say, were the shirts kind of were they laid out, or did you have to kind of go back inside and get them? Or
so yeah, the videos didn't come off great because a couple of them accidentally ended up sideways round, but so I'm not sure how well it made out, but the field is literally right behind my house, the park, the dog walking park. So Emma was in our back garden, and each time I had to change, she threw a shirt over to me, and I threw my sweaty one back, and I got changed. She took a picture of me in the new shirt, and then I set off for my lap. So she had them all laid out on a chair in the back garden, sort of order that I'd kind of just thrown them together in an order. Mostly the order was made up so I didn't wear too many Wigan shirts in a row, so I kept breaking it up so that when the montage was put together afterwards it'd look interesting and different rather than just red and white, blue and white, red and white, blue and white. but yeah, it was, actually it was quite good. I wasn't as tired at the end of it as I thought I would be, and I started it in the Super League pod shirt that we brought out a few years ago. Now, probably back in 2015, mentioning that year actually, I think it probably was. And then I also, one of the shirts I wore had a Super League pod logo sponsoring it. It was a Cambridge Trojan shirt from their first season, which will have been 2018, I think, maybe 17. But yeah, so and loads of other shirts as well. So yeah, do check that out. But I want to thank everyone who donated. Most of these people, or half of these people at least, don't listen to the show, but I'm going to thank them on the show anyway. So I want to thank Dave and Jude Barton, who are two of my a couple of that are friends of ours. Dom Hodgson, who's a friend of the show, of course, and Carsten Brummer, who was on a few weeks ago. Sam Lawton, who was my best man at my wedding. Danica Prim, the Leeds Rhinos prop forward. Josh Moole, who also we need to give a shout out for making a good order from Sarah's bookcase as well this week. So thanks for all your contributions to the show and the people who are behind the show, Josh. That's fantastic. And every bit of the best luck to Josh as well at the moment out there on the front line. To Jen, David and Emma, thanks to those guys for their donation. Jane Liddell, another non-listener, but there you go. Josh McAllister, who is also doing some charity fundraising actually with his teammates at Blackpool Stanley, and we should have someone on from Blackpool Stanley on the next episode of the show for a little interlude. Angie Illingworth, that's my stepmom. Lee Whitnell, whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday, Lee. We heard him on the show Was it last week? It was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Aaron Smith, our friend from down in London, and then any of the anonymous donors as well who chipped in. And I found out this afternoon that one of those was my mum. So my stepmom and my mum donated. So thanks to both of my mums. There'll be a link if you want to donate in the episode blog post. Obviously, like I said, we're raising money, or I'm raising money for Rugby League Cares. They obviously do a lot of great work for our sport, and there's been some storylines this year that I've highlighted, that Mossy Masoi. We've had people on, talking about the offload program. We've had there's lots of stuff going on in the community game these days where there's clubs struggling and things like that. And Rugby League Cares supports all of that kind of stuff with their work. So it's kind of giving something back to the sport whilst I can at this time. But yeah, thanks to everyone who donated. Do you have any questions about how the run went? Did anything about if I hurt myself or?
Did you hurt yourself, Mark?
No, I don't have any funny stories. I thought the cows in the field next to the park were going to climb through, because when I went for a walk round to see how long a lap would be, one of the cows had climbed through the wire fence into the dog walking park. So I was a bit worried about that, but they didn't even show up, so nothing happened. Nothing happened of note. There you go. We did get a bit of feedback as well on one of the topics we talked about last week, Alan. Do you want to take us through that?
Yep, so this feedback is from Dave Cantrell on the subject of player wages, which we had some slight disagreements with last week. But Dave says, so putting his union hat on, it's right that players should take a pay cut along with everyone else at their clubs, even if it's a bit dodgy if the size of the cut has been agreed between the clubs and not individually between each club and their staff. Looks a bit cartel-ish. What's bang out of order is any suggestion that players who do not wish to accept new contracts, for that's what a pay cut is, get blacklisted by all of the other employers. When the construction industry blacklisted workers, it ended up costing them tens of millions, and 10 years after it came to light, union-led compensation cases are still working their way through the courts. And the story still pops up in the press every year or so. If the blacklist happens, then every player affected should get on the phone to their union's lawyers, who will cackle gleefully at the chance of an easy payday.
Well, I suppose there is a bit of an update on this story as well, isn't there, from last week? Because Gareth Carvell, who is the chief of the Rugby League Players Association, has effectively said that if they do find any evidence of the blacklisting happening, then they will start legal proceedings against the clubs or the league, or wherever that evidence sits, I suppose. So David David's got his union hat on, and the Rugby League players union have also been working on that same type of thought process. I guess one thing to sort of clear up, because I hadn't fully read the League Express article and stuff last week before we did